The fear of failure is something that hurts a lot of players in basketball. The fear of failure is simply when you're not shooting when you're open or passing up on open opportunities because you're scared to fail. You may be scared of what people are thinking in the stands. You may be scared of what the coach is thinking. You may be scared that you're going to get subbed out. A lot of players compare themselves nowadays. They may be comparing themselves to somebody else and they may feel like they're not as good as them. But oftentimes, a lot of players are scared to fail. This fear of failure is going to hold you back from reaching your full potential. If you're scared to fail, you're going to hold yourself back from doing things. You often hear the saying, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. That fear of failure is the reason you're not going to take those shots. So in this video today, I'm going to be talking about the fear of failure, why it happens, what it is, and how we can overcome it. Let's get into it. So let's start out by talking about what fear of failure is. Like I mentioned in the intro, fear of failure is simply you passing up open opportunities or you passing up open shots because you're scared to fail. You may have a wide open shot on the corner, or you may even have an open layup that you can take, but you decide to pass it up to your teammate who you feel like is more open because you're scared to fail. This even goes for practice. Coaches may have us get in lines, we may have to do drills, and we may have to go one person after the other. They may start to do things like let other players skip in front of them because they're scared to go and do the rep, because they're scared to fail. They're scared of what the coach will do, and they might not get playing time. They're scared to fail in front of the coach. Or they may be dominant in practice and then they may go and play scared in games because the lights are bright, there's people around. Let's say you're in high school or middle school, you got the cheerleaders, you got the crowd, you got classmates in the stands. But in practice, you were doing great, and now in the game, you're scared to shoot the ball or you're scared to do whatever because you're fearing failure. So that is what fear of failure is. So what does this cause? What does fear of failure cause to happen to our game? Well, when we're in game, like I said, we may pass up open shots, we may pass up open opportunities, things like that. All in all, this is basically just holding us back from reaching our full potential. We've talked about how to score more points in games and things of that nature. Fear of failure is one of those things that's going to hold you back from having those 20-point games, those 15-point games, those 25-point games, things like that. Now you're only having 5 points, 2 points because you're scared to fail. So fear of failure, all in all, it just holds us back from reaching our full potential. Now that we know what fear of failure is, now let's talk about why it happens. Let's identify the sources of this fear of failure. The first thing is people, like I talked about, they're scared to get judged. They may be thinking about what people are thinking in the stands, what their coaches is thinking. They may feel like, okay, if I shoot this shot and I miss or I airball or something, now people are thinking something about me. They may think I'm trash, and that's what starts to happen in players' heads. They fear the judgment. Also, another thing I noticed is a lot of parents and coaches, a lot of pressure. I coach a baseball team, and I noticed with my players, a lot of times the parents will be constantly yelling at the players, and even with my basketball team, the parents are yelling at them, and that kind of puts pressure on the kids. And I know the parents are there to support, but that puts a lot of pressure on the kids. Even with the coaches, I see a lot of coaches in other sports, they yell at the kids, and then there's a lot of parents, and then you got crowd people, everybody just yelling at the kids. It's a lot of pressure during the game. So now they're scared to fail, because if they fail, now what is this parent going to say? What is this coach going to say? What is this person in the crowd going to say? What is this parent from the other team going to say? So it's a lot of pressure on kids, a lot of pressure on players to fail. Also, pressure from social media. There's a lot of social media. Social media is big in the world now. So players see a lot of things on social media and they feel like they have to live up to this. They see a lot of players in high school, they see guys scoring 20 points. They feel like they have to do that. They feel like they have to be the best player on the court at all times, because if they're not the best player, then on social media somebody might say something about them. They might not get taken seriously. People aren't going to like their videos, things like that. A lot of times players will take what they see on social media and feel like that's just 100% real. But we have to take that with a grain of salt. We have to realize social media is not 100% what it seems to be. That leads into my next part, which is comparison. A lot of times players compare themselves to others. They feel like if they see somebody doing this on this level, they feel like they got to do it on that same level or higher, or they're not good enough. I used to do the same thing to myself. I used to feel like that, okay, this person is doing it like this. If I'm not doing it like this, I'm just trash. So comparison, we have to realize, okay, we're on our own level and we got to constantly progress. We got to get better than what we are. We can't just sit there and compare ourselves to somebody else, because now we're losing sight of ourselves. Also, people are perfectionists. A lot of people, a lot of players, they feel like it has to be perfect. I have to have this mechanic perfect. If I don't shoot the ball exactly like this and flick my wrist exactly like this, I'm doing it wrong. Or if I don't dribble like this or look like this when I'm dribbling, I'm doing it wrong. I used to do this to myself. When I was dribbling and practicing dribbling, I used to look at other players and say, okay, this is how Steph Curry is dribbling. I don't look as fluid like this, and now I look off and everything. So now I was trying to be perfect, and I was trying to look good and be perfect with it and do it exactly how somebody else was doing it. But no, we can't be perfectionists with this. Like, basketball is not going to be perfect. You're never going to be perfect. You're not going to dribble perfect. You're not going to shoot perfect. You're not going to be perfect on the court. So we have to realize that being a perfectionist is just, it's not really possible. Nobody's perfect. We can't be perfect. So that's another reason why it happens, why people fear failure, because they want to be perfect. So now that we've covered what fear of failure is and why the fear of failure happens, now let's talk about how we can overcome it. So the biggest thing is shifting your mindset. We have to shift our mindset from failure is bad to failure is feedback. We have to think to ourselves, failure equals feedback. Every time we lose, every time we fail, every time we make a mistake, we need to be able to learn from it. So if we miss a shot, we need to be able to know exactly why we missed the shot, learn from it, and then see what we can do to improve the mechanics. So an example, let's say we missed the shot right and we constantly missing shots right. Okay, now we know we need to adjust our mechanics or maybe turn our body a little bit to the left, so now we're a little bit more in center, or move our shot arm or move the shot path a little bit more to the center, so now we're not missing to the right. So just being able to identify the reasons why we fail and identify what failures, why we failed, and how we can fix them. You're able to learn a lot from failing. If nobody failed, they would never learn. So we have to think about failing as not a failure, but as a lesson. You never lose, you just learn. Also, you have to stop playing to avoid mistakes and play to make plays. I see a lot of players playing very passive because they want to avoid the mistakes, but no, we have to play to make those plays. I am a big person on this because I did this myself. I was sitting there playing to avoid the mistakes. I would be open, I would have an opportunity to beat my man, but I would pass the ball and go set my teammate a screen or something, so I'd avoid the mistake, and then they could potentially make the mistake or they could make the play. But no, we have to be able to go out there and play so that we can make the play. We want to help the team. We don't want to sit there and play passive and just be somebody on the court. We got to be able to go out there and help the team. So play to make plays and not to avoid the mistakes. Also, embrace the pressure. I talked about this in the previous part of the video. We have to be able to embrace this pressure because there's going to be a lot of pressure, like I said, coming from the parents, the coaches, the stands. There's going to be coming from every single place, and we have to be able to embrace this pressure and understand, okay, this pressure is coming at me, but I can't let it affect me. We have to embrace it. We have to say, okay, I had this pressure. I want this pressure. I like the pressure. I'm going to go out here and show out with this pressure. We have to look at pressure as something that fuels us. We can't let pressure be something that deems us or brings us down and makes us play worse. The next thing is practicing in uncomfortable situations. I talked about this before. There's going to be a lot of pressure and everything. So being able to practice in those uncomfortable situations, there may be a lot of fans or a lot of people in the stands watching you. Being able to practice in those type of situations. So let's say you go to the rec center and you're on the court, and before the next game starts up, you're on the court just practicing your game. You practice in front of all those people are watching you. That's a way to simulate a pressure situation because a lot of people are in the stands and you're the only one on the court, or things like that. We want to be able to practice these pressure situations. Or even if you have to just simulate it in your head of you taking the game-winning shot. We used to do this a lot as kids, just count down in 3, 2, 1, and the shot is up and hitting the shot at the shot clock. Practicing those pressure situations. I know it's not going to be 100% realistic, but just try to simulate it in your head. Again, this is like really just a mindset thing. So trying to practice in those pressure situations are going to help you. Another thing that I think a lot of players could really benefit from is journaling their wins and journaling their failures. So you may do a drill for a whole week. Journal what you did and how you improved on that drill throughout the week. So maybe you did 5-pound dribbles on the right hand, and the first day you struggled with 3 of them, but you were able to do 2. Then the next day you were able to do 7. Then the next day you were able to do 10. So journal that, and then journal your failures. Journal when you failed. What did it feel like? What did it feel like in your hand? How did the ball bounce? Things like that. What were you thinking about? So journal these things. If you're able to journal them, then you can come back to them. You can see, again, we want to know why we failed. We want to be able to identify why we failed and then how we can fix it. Journaling these things can help us identify them. So something that really can help people is journaling. Also, this is a way to build confidence, because if you journal where you failed at and then you look and go to the next page and you see where you succeeded and then you so on and so on, now you see your progress. You can go back and always look at your progress. I often look back a lot of times and say, I started playing basketball in 4th grade and I was horrible. Now look at me now. I've made a lot of progress. So now that gives me a lot of confidence. So this journal can help you with your confidence. So in conclusion, really, you're better than you think. You just have to have that mindset. You have to not fear failure. The fear of failure can kill your confidence. It can kill your game, and it will hold you back in the long run. So we have to embrace failure. We have to go out there and be able to play under that pressure, embrace it. If we fail, okay, we have to move on. You know, we see these players who seem like they're playing very nonchalant. Well, that's because they're not scared to fail. If they fail, they really just don't care. They're going to sit there and learn from it and then go out there and not make the mistake twice. So we got to be able to learn from these mistakes. The biggest thing, learning from the mistakes. So we're going to fail. We can't fear it, but we got to learn from it. Embrace it, see what we did wrong, see what we can do better next time. If y'all like the video, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, comment what videos y'all want to see, comment what part of the video you like. Just leave me a comment. Let me know. Thank y'all for watching.